I am so thrilled to be a part of this game, this world, this community.
Oi, eu sou a Bia e sim, tivemos a oportunidade de entrevistar a Paula Rhodes. Ela é a performance, né, atriz em Mocap, de Eveline em Resident Evil 7 Biohazard e da Angie em Resident Evil Village. Né? Antes de começar a entrevista, eu vou pedir para você se inscrever no canal, deixar o seu like para ajudar e divulgar muito essa entrevista, porque isso ajuda muito a gente a continuar conseguindo realizar mais coisas como essa aqui no canal. E um beijo e vamos lá pro vídeo.
Hi, I am Paula Rhodes. I am an actor, producer, director, and in this case I was the voice and motion capture artist for both Eveline and Angie in Resident Evil Biohazard and Village. So let me see if I can answer some of these questions for you. Well, I had always loved acting and storytelling in general, and being as I grew up mostly in Missouri, right in the middle of our country here, it didn't seem like the most viable of career choices when I started college. So I got a degree in journalism, and then almost all the way through, I ended up entering a pageant as a joke and ended up winning the Miss Junior Missouri and then the Miss Junior America pageant title crown. And I parlayed that into some internships in New York City, where I really got to see what was entailed in this career, and that's when I decided to go ahead and go for what I really loved after school. Most fun part of my job? Well, it's not auditions. I would say it's all the collaboration. Getting to meet so many amazing different teams and work with them and bring stories to life and see how they touch audiences. It's such an adventure, and it's always new, which is kind of just magical in a way. Oh gosh, that's a big question. I did work on all those. They're all so fun. Behind the scenes is in maybe how it works. Like, each game's different, especially because those games spanned quite a few years. So even the technology for, say, Resident Evil 7 to Resident Evil 8 had changed so much already in just those 5 years that, for instance, we used to have to do entire grids of dots on our faces in order to capture the facial performance, right? But now, sometimes you don't need any dots. Sometimes you have one or two or just a couple of key points, and the cameras have, and the technology software and the technicians who work them have all advanced so much that that's not even necessary anymore. So it's a constantly evolving, really cool universe where a lot of imagination is required, and as opposed to on-camera acting where you get the benefit of the set and the props and the costume to really put you in the space, you're just using your imagination. Because often, you know, somebody you're looking at that's supposed to look very different is like yourself in a spandex suit or just not even there at all, and you're in a little box voiceover booth recording the words. So it's kind of like being a kid again, just completely living in your imagination. Oh, okay. So that was a very specific, weird little niche bit of acting, because it's comes in after they've already recorded motion capture for the body. They already have the whole body performance, everything she did. They already had the animation matched to it, and they had the voice also recorded. So what I had to do was come in with a camera and a voiceover booth, head camera. A helmet one, and I had to lip sync exactly the pre-recorded voiceover for her and add facial expressions and go through all the emotions to really let the animators match my facial expressions and her emotions to what the voice was portraying and what the actor was going through, even as she morphed, you know. So it's a trickier bit of acting, but it's also very, very fun. Very technical, very fun. Only, I think, a couple weeks or months apart, and a lot of the same technicians were working on both, which was kind of cool. because as you can imagine, it's pretty specialized work, so there's only so many people that do it really, really well. It was really quite a cool adventure to go from my first foray into motion capture, into Mocap with Evie, into this performance capture being very different for Evil Within 2. It was fun. Well, it came about primarily because of an amazing woman named America Young, who is a director as well as motion capture, stunt actress, on-camera actress, and really stellar director now because she's directing a ton of TV and movies. And she, being a friend of mine and coworker of mine, had put my name forward to the producers as someone who could portray a believable little girl, but who was an adult, because it was, mature, kind of horrifying content, right? It's not something you want to really expose a child to. Plus, children can only work so many hours a day, so you really limit yourself when you do work with a minor. And because I am 12-year-old sized and sound like this, I was able to do it. So I actually got the call to audition for Eveline only a little while, minutes after I'd given birth to my first child in the hospital. Thought my aunt was calling, answered the phone, and I wasn't able to go. Obviously, I didn't think I could because I just had a baby. I didn't think I could go the next day. And luckily, the producers were parents themselves and very understanding and gave me a couple weeks to recover and come in anyway. And it's been such a wonderful adventure since. I brought my newborn to the audition, and I got the call that I booked it before I even got home, which was unusual and wonderful and exciting. Yes, of course. I mean, I was familiar with the name. I knew the films, which I realize aren't canon. What I did was, but I wasn't a gamer. So no, I hadn't played the games. I was aware of them, obviously kind of in awe of them, but not deeply connected to the source material. So I did a deep dive at that point and really kind of caught myself up once I realized what game it was, which the story of that was interesting because we are not told as actors, voice actors at that point in time, what game we were working on until they came out, which made it more difficult, right? Sometimes to match tone or otherwise. So what had happened with this one was when I joined the cast, which was a good 9 months or so after they'd already been filming some of the stuff, I came to a table read first, and during that table read, one of the writers let slip the word Umbrella Corp, and I think most of us put it together at that point and kind of did a lot of eye locking and, gears turning, and we're like, are we working on Resident Evil? So I guess from day one, once I got on set, I knew what I was a part of, at least in a cerebral sense. I was really, it took a while for all of the amazing fan community and the depth of what was there to hit me. Which is amazing. What are you most proud of in this job? I'm most proud of connecting with the community and my fellow actors who we've really reached out to and been received by this community, which is unique and amazing and supportive and everything that you wouldn't stereotypically think of in some of the stereotypes of gaming were knocked to the wayside for this because this fan base is so amazing. So that's, I think, the fact that we were able to be a part of a team that built such amazing worlds is really special. So kudos to Capcom, really, because they are the ones that spend years building it ahead of time before we're ever on board. Difficulties during the motion capture. Granted, this was 7 years ago or so when I was filming it. No? Well, I should say, because I had just had a baby, my first child, I was still nursing, so I was having to take breaks every few hours to pump. And I believe that was a bit of a challenge because there's so much Velcro and spandex involved that there were probably some humorous moments of me like wrestling myself in and out of this ridiculous costume to take care of my baby. But other than that, no, the team is so supportive. The producers and directors have been so supportive, and I'm terribly thankful for that. Everything went rather smoothly. I love her story, and I think for me anyway, in order to play a villain, I can't, unless it's super cartoony, right? Like a very young kid show. You can never look at the character as through their own eyes as the villain. They're always going to think that they're in the right, and so everybody else is the villain, right? They're the victim. So to look at it that way, in the very human way that we frame things, she just wanted a family. And it wasn't fair that she got given this life where one wasn't provided for her and where it was so hard to find one. She didn't ask for these powers, but she was darn sure going to use them. And she didn't have any guidance, I think, or the guidance she could have maybe benefited from to make it a less tragic end. So I think it was a remarkably fleshed out and true story for Capcom to have come up with. It was a kind of a slightly fresh take on the trope of scary little girls, right? That have definitely been around in horror for a long time. So I appreciate Evelyne's story, and she'll always be a part of me. Would I change her tragic end? I mean, as Eveline, if I could go back and fix some things so that I ended up on top, then yes. But as Paula, I think it was very befitting of the story, and everything worked really well. So I guess I'm torn on that one. Oh, it was wonderful. I mean, Katie's hard not to just adore, right? She's so talented and so kind, and I think really seeing Katie, this bubbly, warm person, step into and just completely commit to Mia at the table read was really one of the things that leveled up my game so much, and made me realize, like, oh, I gotta step it up. This woman is amazing. So I'm very thankful to her, and we've been friends since, and become even closer friends after Village, which was a really cool bonding experience, having gone through, you know, this, as the world has, this years of pandemic isolation, and then to have some connection during that has been so wonderful. And she actually doesn't live very far from me, and has, ironically, watched my children. So, like, Mia is the babysitter for Evelyne's kids sometimes when I've needed it. So, you know, takes a village. Haha, pun intended. But I'm very glad that she's part of mine. Let's see. Ooh. 13. Lucky number 13. So I am not a gamer. I recognized after locking myself away and losing 3 entire days to trying to beat Baldur's Gate years and years and years ago that I have a bit of an addiction problem when it comes to games, and so I stepped away to give myself a chance to have a life. But I allow myself to be in games instead. So I don't own a system other than very, very old ones, and try to protect my time that way. But I have done a lot of watch-throughs and with Twitch streamers and friends who are gamers, so that I could see how they turned out. And they're pretty cool. They're pretty amazing. It's really neat to see, you know, the early animatics when you're recording, or even some of them are finished by the time you're doing the voiceover and you're getting to watch them, and how they all puzzle piece together to fill in the story. Because you never get the full script. You never know everything that's happening when you're a voice actor. So it was a really cool discovery for me as well to see how everything fit together. I loved it. It was an adventure. It was tapping into skills that I'd used as a voice actor to portray children, but in this sense, in a much more realistic way than a lot of the cartoons, you know, that I'd done. And then using my body as well, because as an adult, I don't usually play children on camera anymore, but because I'm such a tiny adult, I got to use it in this arena, right? create this medium, and it's so fun to kind of gear shift into being a kid again, where the world is a lot more black and white then, right? There's good and there's bad, and you're always the good. So it's a fresh eyes in, I guess, on a story, and an experience for me. I am super thankful that Eveline came into my life and that I got to meet all the people I did because of her. Well, because I'd gotten to work on 7, the same producers were on 8 for Village, and they brought a lot of us back to audition for various roles. In fact, we auditioned for most of the roles to see where you might fit best. I didn't get to read for Lady D. 5 feet tall, I'll tell you what. But I did read for the sisters, and I read for various other characters. And so it was like any other audition. You first have the first time they bring you in, you do a couple different takes. They kind of redirect you a little bit, and then you see if you get a callback. And I got a callback, yay! So I got to go in, and they'd mix and match us and try us out in front of the director, and really have them, him in this case, direct us and play and see what we could find to latch into characters and see what the chemistry was like with the other actors. So they did a really great job of putting together a team, which I think is what makes this game so leveled up from maybe some other games. We all worked so cohesively together, and they did that via the audition process by finding the best places to put us. I mean, they're miles apart character-wise, right? Like Eveline is a little girl. She's a lot more still. She does have self-doubts, and she has anger and feels like a victim sometimes and operates out of that. Versus Angie, who doesn't have quite that range of emotion. She's pure id. She is just all lack of any sort of inhibitions, because she is that part of Donna that Donna has closed off of herself and put into Angie. So they were totally different sides of my brain kind of getting to play. Both small-sized characters, obviously, but different sounds and very different inner lives. Nothing in the hours, but obviously the pandemic gave its own set of restrictions as far as what we could accomplish in group setting. Luckily, we did the actual Four Lords scenes with all of us together, which is unique for motion capture and really cool that we got to do that. I think it's why that scene is so amazing. We did it all together before the pandemic. It wasn't until after the pandemic hit that we started to film the rest of it, and we were lucky in that we had a producer in Rosanna-san and the workhouse that was so conscious of keeping everyone safe and on top of everything, going above and beyond. But B, you have the technology to film and create within those parameters. So we were able to test a lot. We were able to stay very far apart if we had to have masks off at all, because the cameras, in this case, can move you closer. We had, and because you're sort of you're looking different than you're going to look on screen anyway, right? So it doesn't matter if you have a mask on for a while, and then when you need to do the voiceover, you can take it off. So there was a lot of new hurdles to jump over that Rosanna guided us expertly through. I mean, for instance, our Capcom team wasn't able to be there on set like they would have normally been. Our director wasn't able to come in to the country and be there on set. So they had them, virtually joining us, and there's essentially like robots with iPads that wheel over to give us direction and to loop everybody in. So it's they were so ingenious at how they handled everything. So I'm very thankful that we got to create it. She is always fun. The most fun was the Four Lords scene, just because we all got to be there on set together. And acting in general, filmmaking in general, is such a collaborative team effort, but motion capture and voiceover is often a lot more isolated. So it was so enriching and cool to be able to play off each other and to meet these people that I look up to and now consider such amazing friends. So that was a real gift. Celebrating 5 years since Resident Evil Biohazard at least has come out. Oh my gosh, is that real? Has time actually passed? It doesn't feel that long, and yet it does. I am so thankful. I am so thrilled to be a part of this game, this world, this community, and I am in awe of the creativity and the fan art and the fan fiction and the energy and the enthusiasm and the support that this particular fan base has for each other and for us, and has welcomed us into it. So thank you, all of you Resident Evil fans. It's for you. We do it for you, and we feel so lucky to be able to. So enjoy. I am forever thankful to be your Eveline and your Angie.